Okay, so let's dig into that man of two minds idea first. How does his mixed heritage, French and Vietnamese, really shape how he sees things, especially as this double agent in LA?
Well, it's fundamental, isn't it? It's not just a detail. It is his perspective. He's constantly shifting, never quite fitting in anywhere. Being a double agent already splits your loyalties, obviously. But his background, it just...
Welcome to Witter. Who Has Time to Read? The podcast that brings deep dives for busy minds. Listen to AI hosts Jane and Dane and get ready to unpack the world's most captivating books in just a fraction of the time. Whether commuting, working out, or just squeezing in a quick break, we deliver key insights, thought-provoking themes, and takeaways you can carry into your day. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Plus, use our links in the description to purchase this book. Your support helps us bring more engaging book discussions to you. Listen and follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Who has time to read? You do, with Witter.
Welcome back, everyone, to Who Has Time to Read, or Witter if you're a regular. We're the place that takes those big, important books and, well, boils them down for your busy mind.
Exactly. And today marks the end of our AAPI Voices series. It's been quite a journey sharing these stories during Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month.
It really has.
Yeah.
And we are definitely going out with a bang today. We're diving deep into Viet Thanh Nguyen's incredible novel, The Sympathizer. I mean, this book isn't just well-liked, it's a powerhouse. It snagged the Pulitzer for fiction back in 2016, plus, 7 other awards? It really struck a chord.
It absolutely did. And at its heart, you've got this narrator you just won't forget. He's a communist double agent trying to navigate this world of shifting loyalties.
Yeah.
He's called a man of two minds. Pretty fitting for a guy who's half French, half Vietnamese, and an army captain, no less.
Okay, right. So let's unpack that a bit. After the huge shock of the fall of Saigon, he ends up in America, Los Angeles specifically, building a new life, supposedly, with other Vietnamese refugees. But, and this is the core of it, he's secretly sending reports back to his communist bosses in Vietnam.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Talk about walking a tightrope.
Seriously. And this dual identity, it's not just like background info, is it? It forces him and us to see things differently beyond just one viewpoint.
Yeah, that's the key. And from this really precarious position, Nguyen explores some incredibly deep questions. So today we're going to look at the big themes, the cultural lens it offers, and what it brings to the broader AAPI experience.
And also how the recent TV show maybe amplified things.
Yes, definitely want to touch on the adaptation too. It's given these voices an even bigger platform.
Sounds like quite a ride. Okay, so let's dig into that man of two minds idea first. How does his mixed heritage, French and Vietnamese, really shape how he sees things, especially as this double agent in LA?
Well, it's fundamental, isn't it? It's not just a detail. It is his perspective. He's constantly shifting, never quite fitting in anywhere. Being a double agent already splits your loyalties, obviously. But his background, it just ramps up that internal conflict. He sort of understands both sides, the South Vietnamese refugees he's with and his communist handlers back home, but only partially.
And you see that conflict play out all through the book, right? Like, he's reporting on the refugees' suffering. But you feel him genuinely sympathizing with them. It's like his basic humanity is clashing with his political job.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And that constant push and pull is what makes him so real. He's not just some cold spy stereotype. His experience is just too complex for that.
Yeah.
Remember that bit with the chairs Orient versus Occident exercise?
Oh, right. So simplistic.
Exactly. And the narrator, just by existing, completely blows up that kind of simple binary thinking. He has the complexity that those labels just can't capture. Life isn't neat categories.
And that struggle at complexity, it feels like it connects so strongly to the wider AAPI experience, wouldn't you say? Juggling multiple cultures, feeling like you're straddling different worlds.
Oh, absolutely. Definitely. The narrator's internal battles kind of mirror the external pressures and those fundamental questions about belonging that so many in the AAPI community deal with. Hybrid identities, trying to reconcile different parts of yourself.
Okay, so he's in America because Saigon has fallen.
Yeah.
And the book's description of that period, wow. It's incredibly vivid, almost physical. What parts of that chaos really stick out?
Oh, it's intense. Nguyen doesn't hold back on the sheer pandemonium, the disbelief, the surreal feeling as everything just collapses around them.
Yeah.
You get these scenes like at the airport, the desperation to get on a plane, the chaos on the tarmac, it's just rendered with such intensity.
Yeah.
You feel the ground completely shifting beneath their feet. Everything they knew, gone.
And you see the human toll through characters like the General, Madame Bonlin.
Yeah.
They're all processing this immense loss, this total upheaval in different ways.
Exactly.
Right.
The general who believes so much in the American way, he's just paralyzed. Madame, always practical, shifts straight into survival mode. Bon, his loyal friend, is terrified of loss. And Lynn Bond's wife, you feel her anxiety about the future, about her family. They each show a different piece of that collective trauma, just trying to grasp what just happened.
There's that image, too, the clock shaped like Vietnam, with the hands stuck pivoting around Saigon. That felt so symbolic.
That clock is powerful. It perfectly captures that feeling of being stuck in time, right at that moment of loss and this deep, deep connection to home, even when home has changed.
Yeah.
They're trying to build new lives, but there's always that pull, that desire to go back, to reclaim something lost. It hangs over everything.
Moving on a bit, the book also has this really sharp, sometimes darkly funny cultural critique, especially about American involvement in Vietnam and how Americans often see Vietnamese people. What are some key takeaways there?
Well, his position, being both inside and outside American culture, gives him this unique lens. He sees the often superficial understanding Americans have of Vietnam.
Like when they're surprised he speaks English so well.
Exactly. Yeah. Seems small, but it shows those ingrained assumptions, those lowered expectations, and you feel his resentment simmering under the surface about that.
And that cultural misunderstanding really gets hammered home in the whole Hollywood section, right? With the auteur character making that Vietnam War movie. That part was biting.
Oh, totally. The auteur is Ninh Nguyen's way of taking aim at how Hollywood has typically portrayed the war. The stereotypes, the lack of Vietnamese perspectives. The narrator tries, he really tries, to offer something more authentic. But the filmmaker just cares about what sells to American audiences. It's frustrating to read.
That moment where he writes A-I-I-A into the script, it's awful, but also kind of darkly funny because it feels so true to how things can be.
Right. It perfectly highlights how Vietnamese voices and actual experiences just get erased. He argues for actual speaking rules for Vietnamese characters, not just background noise or stereotypes.
Yeah.
And it shows this huge problem with representation. He just wants them to be able to tell their own story.
The book also digs into these really tough themes. War, loyalty, betrayal. It's not just politics. It's personal relationships getting torn apart by the conflict.
Absolutely. Loyalty in this book is messy. It's contradictory. The narrator is loyal to the communist, right? But then he forms real bonds with the South Vietnamese refugees he's spying on. And his loyalty to his friends, Man and Bon, that's huge too. It pulls him in different directions, often with devastating results. The book constantly asks, where does loyalty really lie when everything's collapsing and you just need to survive?
And betrayal just feels inevitable, doesn't it? Given his double life. He's betraying the refugees by spying, obviously. Maybe he's also betraying his communist ideals by, empathizing with them, getting comfortable in America.
Definitely. Betrayal is woven into everything. Political betrayal, betrayal of friends, maybe even self-betrayal as he faces these impossible moral choices. And you see it in other characters too, like Bon. Fiercely loyal, yes, but driven to do things that cross lines. That could be seen as betrayals themselves. The narrator's internal struggle just makes you feel the weight of those compromises.
It's amazing how these themes, so powerful in the novel, have now found this potentially huge new audience with the TV show. Can you talk a bit about how that adaptation came about?
Yeah, the journey to the screen was pretty interesting itself. Viet Thanh Nguyen, the author, was apparently very clear from the start. It had to center Vietnamese voices, Vietnamese language, both on and off screen.
Which wasn't necessarily an easy sell in Hollywood initially, I gather?
Well, maybe not. There was probably some resistance, the usual way of doing things.
But didn't things shift a bit after some major social and political events like the Trump era, George Floyd's murder, the Atlanta shootings? Those seem to make the industry maybe more receptive.
That's a really crucial point, yeah. Those awful events tragically highlighted systemic racism, anti-Asian hate. And it likely did create more awareness, maybe a greater willingness in Hollywood to finally back more authentic storytelling from marginalized groups.
And then this incredible team came together. A24, director Park Chan-wook, Robert Downey Jr. even.
Yeah, quite the lineup.
Yep.
A24 has a reputation for bold stuff. Park Chan-wook is a visionary director. And having Robert Downey Jr. involved playing multiple roles no less.
Right, that was unexpected.
It definitely raised the profile. Plus, getting significant tax credits from California showed it was a major production.
And the show's already getting nominated for awards, Astra TV Awards, Critics' Choice. Seems like it's really landing well.
It does seem that way. The adaptation just brings the novel's complex themes, its powerful take on the AAPI experience, to a potentially massive global audience. It really speaks to the strength of Nguyen's original work, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So this deep dive into the Sympathizer wraps up our AAPI Voices series. And looking back, not just at this series, but the whole journey of Witter, it makes you think, doesn't it? We started wanting to offer these deep dives for busy minds, trying to make important writing more accessible.
And it's been so rewarding, hasn't it? Digging into such a rich range of AAPI voices and stories. In this series especially, the show kind of grew from just giving shortcuts into, well, maybe a space for deeper understanding, empathy, appreciating different perspectives.
Yeah, there have been moments where it felt like we really connected with you, the listeners, and maybe highlighted stuff that doesn't always get the spotlight it deserves. This API series feels like one of those times.
I think the success, if you can call it that, is down to you listeners, really. Your curiosity, your willingness to engage with tough subjects, embrace different stories. And for this series, the sheer power and richness of the AAPI stories themselves, that's been key.
Totally agree. And the Sympathizer is such a vital piece of that AAPI literary landscape. It gives this incredibly nuanced, often uncomfortable, but ultimately crucial look at history, identity, representation.
Yeah, through its conflicted narrator, it forces us to grapple with war's trauma, the shock of displacement, the misunderstandings between cultures. It makes you confront history and question the usual narratives we get fed.
And as we finish this AAPI Voices series, it's just so clear how incredibly diverse that umbrella term AAPI really is. Every story we touched on offered a different window, a different facet of identity, history, resilience.
Indeed. So a huge thank you to all of you listening for joining us on this final deep dive for the series. Your engagement, your feedback, your curiosity, that's honestly what makes doing this so worthwhile.
So as you think about the Sympathizer and maybe the other voices from the series, here's a thought to leave you with. How does telling our own stories, even the messy ones, the complex ones, the ones with uncomfortable truths, how does that actually help build understanding? How does it challenge those dominant narratives that maybe silence or misrepresent people? What other stories are out there, ones you maybe haven't found yet, that could offer similar insights into that vast, ongoing AAPI experience? Definitely something worth